than I'd like to start. But today, we're going to make it work. Welcome back, everyone. I need to do a little bit of back-end creator dashboard stuff. Today, we're starting a lot later than I'd like to. We will be able to go later as well. So we'll still have, about 2 hours, which is what we usually do. This is later than I'd like to start. I think normally I would say this is too late and, we need to go another day, but I really want to stream the Harrow Buildcraft day today. So we'll do it. Harrow's day today. Let's get cracking with this complex frame. And we're going to make that into a Twitter post to tell people we're there. I'm live streaming Warframe for the next 2 hours. Harrow Buildcraft Day, join us here, link to Twitch. Some Buildcraft in Warframe. I really shouldn't say I'm live streaming Warframe because the point isn't Warframe, the point is the builds in Warframe. So I'm going to start writing it like that. And this is me. I literally make decisions like that. Executive level decisions, like in the middle of rushing through setting everything up. And we're going to go everyone. Here we are. Excellent, excellent. Dinsoro, welcome back. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Just updating things everywhere. Making sure everything's working. Yep, that's there. Twitch thing, good. Hopefully that updates without a hitch. And there we are. Look at that. That wasn't so bad, right? Go. Sit down a little bit. Get cozy. To talk about Harrow. Yes, Harrow. I said on the Tuesday stream this week that I was quite excited to talk about Harrow. And the reason is that I just think Harrow is a really good example of like the type of Warframe that is a good fit for talking about Buildcraft in a group. Harrow strikes me as a frame that is really dense. Personally, I think Harrow's quite like playstyle or feel like preference based. It's very non-obvious, like there's no, you should clearly just build a bunch of strength. Revenant gets survivability and damage and arguably some energy just from building strength. Just build a bunch of... I'm not saying there's no other good ideas for Revenant, but Revenant is a good example of a frame that I think, like, there's a somewhat obvious build path. I do look forward to doing Revenant. I think it's the really obvious ones, or at least to me, what are really obvious, and the really a lot ones, like Harrow, I would argue. Those are the ones I look forward to the most, personally. It's the ones in the middle where generally, like, there's a few little things and we'll talk about them, but oftentimes we've talked about those the most over the years. I've found myself to enjoy things like that broadly the most in general. The middle of the road Buildcraft can be a bit of a walk in the park. It's when something's really weird, like this Sunday, we're talking about Kuki Shinobu in Genshin Impact. Kuki is really bad. Not terrible. Really, I don't think she's that bad. But she's, if you had to say, compared to the other characters in that game, she's kind of bad. And I'm really excited about that because it means there's a lot to discuss. I don't really care about the things being good or bad. Games like this are consistently designed so that it's not of critical import just how good things are. Really only a game with like hardcore rating would ever be designed in such a way where that would matter. And you'll notice that games like that will rarely allow player choice on a level that would allow you to make a build that just can't do the content in the game. That varies. That is a complicated subject that I'm deeply interested in. An example of a game to which that applies would be like Final Fantasy XIV, World of Warcraft. There's arguably not really build variety. And that's intended because you have enough damage to do the raid if you have the right gear, you have a gear score. And then there's games like Guild Wars 2 and Destiny, which stray a little in the direction of like, there are definitely builds in those games, but they are a lot less open-ended than this, or like, the team composition is a lot less open-ended than in like Genshin Impact. Builds are pretty simple in Genshin Impact, but your team build is still quite open-ended. Games that have such an open-ended Buildcraft structure are rarely going to have content in them that requires like a very precise, well-oiled machine build, because people will either have to do those few builds, or they just don't know what those things are, and then you can't queue with anybody that didn't do that exact cookie cutter build. I don't know. Anyway, so I find it fun whenever a frame or a character in another game or whatever build we're talking about is like clearly pretty good or like clearly pretty bad, or at least a lot of people feel that way. I enjoy that among the most. And I think that Harrow is in the latter category. The former category, excuse me. These abilities are back-to-back hits. Let's swap off the build that has Zada's Whisper on it, and we'll get started. That's not what we're doing today. There we are. Cool. Now, we're not going to open normally I use this, but for Harrow, it's the loud music and the rap tap tap, and I just don't want to bother disabling all that stuff. So we're just going to hang out here and look at the abilities over here. That'll be fine. We'll probably pop in to look at the passive, which matters quite a bit. Welcome back, folks. Let's welcome people back. Ace, welcome back. Densora, welcome back. Emo Nemo, welcome back. It's been a minute. How you doing, Nemo? And Bastards and Darius, what's going on? Bastards, I'm okay. To be honest, kind of bad. There is a sparrow that is trying to find a mate that is right outside my window where I sleep, and it chirps nonstop from about like 4 a.m. to around 10 p.m. In my part of the world, this is the longest time of the year, where it's almost literally the longest day of the year. So it's bright a lot, and I've listened to that yip 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 nonstop at that frequency for literally like 3 days straight. I've had like no sleep. I hate it. It's too far away for me to like really do anything to scare it away or something. An ultrasonic, bird disturber. It's really too far away.
20 months. That's a new record.
20 months of listening to that bird. It's, not going to get scared away by... Anyway, like, I can't really do anything to make the bird leave, and it's loud enough that I can't do a lot to drown it out without waking up the rest of the house. So it sucks. I'm looking forward to talking about this instead of listening to that. Oh my goodness, my head hurts so bad. I have such a bad headache. Bastards, to be honest, pretty bad. But I'm, as usual, quite happy to be here with all of you. Emily, thank you for the tier 1 sub. 20 months, a new record. Emily, it feels like it's been a lot longer. Thank you very much. Welcome back. And folks, quickly, the Twitch archive parlay form, if you want to submit questions for the middle of this stream where I answer some questions submitted to this form, do that. I'll answer them this time next week. I didn't get too many because I was away last week getting my wisdom tooth out. So yeah, submit them there if you want to. Looking forward to it. Cool. I'll catch up on chat a little bit more. Then we'll go through these abilities really quick. But yeah, glad you're glad to be here, Nemo. I'm looking forward to it myself. Let's split and get started. Okay, Harrow abilities. So we usually start by overviewing what's the frame got going on, which for Harrow, this is going to be, it's going to be a lot. I'll try to abbreviate a little bit since we're going to get into the abilities more later anyway. We'll briefly pop into here to talk about his passive, which is a pretty big deal. Starts at maximum energy. His overshield capacity is doubled. Now, this is a somewhat hidden mechanic of the game, but every frame has 1200 overshield capacity, and you can't affect that in any way. They just have it. Building more shield capacity doesn't change your overshield capacity. If you can restore overshields, you kind of like get a free shield capacity mod because you can store a lot of overshields without any mods. Harrow has twice as much, which is really good anyway. Even if he didn't have any abilities that played into that, like that's just quite good. Of course, it's meant to play into Condemn, which fires out a line, shackles enemies in place, easy headshots, and you get overshields, shields into overshields. and Penance, which consumes shields and overshields to boost reload speed, give you fire rate, give you lifesteal. So of course the passive is meant to play in with those, but it's very good to have double overshield capacity anyway. If there were things that boosted overshield capacity, I would want to use them even without any like explicit synergy. So that's quite good. A great place to start. Harrow has an excellent passive, the overshield thing. You might want to infuse something like, Hildren's, oh my goodness, what's that ability called? But you know what I'm talking about. Hildren's Helmet ability, which can give you a ton of overshields, is a lot better than usual on Harrow. I'm not necessarily saying I think that's the greatest idea. Condemn does give a lot of overshields. Pillage would be a great option, but yeah, Condemn is cool. Keep in mind that for Penance, you may wish to increase Harrow's shield capacity. Just note that even if you don't, his overshield capacity is still there, and you can't affect a frame's overshield capacity. Just keep in mind that that doesn't mean you can't build shields, like you could build shields. I don't feel that's entirely necessary. This ability gives you so much duration. If you have no shield capacity increases and you just max out your overshields or have like a bit of overshielding, that I don't really think it accomplishes much on a frame that can restore a lot of overshields, has huge overshield capacity, and gets such a long duration from this ability. I'm not sure I would recommend building shield capacity. I just don't think it does much on this frame, but you certainly can. So a reason you might want to do that, for example, would be if you had some way you were restoring a lot of shields, then you could just kind of get like the low point for Penance if you just recharged your shields would, I guess, be higher. I don't know. Anyway, this is a pretty spicy ability. Among other things, it's a good amount of reload speed, medium-sized reload speed buff, and it's lifesteal on every weapon. Something particularly interesting with this is that because Warframes have such low health pools compared to the damage we put out, you can use weapons that do a very small amount of damage, but in an area for a while, and you will keep yourself surprisingly easily topped off. This is just it's very powerful to give lifesteal to like any effect. Lingering effects in the environment, like the one that comes to mind is, I can never remember, the Ferox. When you throw the Ferox, the tether pulses out. It doesn't do very much damage. I think probably on its own, that's not going to be enough to keep you healthy, but you can build in ways that make the tether do more damage, and that even that rather minor damaging effect is surprisingly adequate to keep Harrow topped off. Effects like that leave a thing in the environment can be a pretty powerful way to stay alive with Penance. So that's an option. And then Thurible. So this is where I think Harrow gets a little crowded, maybe I would say. Thurible lets you, you can charge up, and the more energy you feed into it, the more energy you get back when you get a kill. You get much more if you get a headshot. It's easy to get headshots with Condemn. Harrow's abilities feel, quite interlocked in some ways. It feels like they make each other better. Getting this ability to restore resources in very powerful ways and get a lot, well, Condemn is that too, is just really strong. They kind of make each other better too. Like you'll have the energy because you have this. You don't have to worry about like dying to something that gets through the shields because of this. There's some synergy there, both explicit and implicit. So yeah, a good ability. And then Covenant. I do not like this ability. The reason I don't like this ability is because it is very binary. It keeps you completely safe, but then it doesn't keep you safe at all. So if you're not already tanky enough, you will die during the part that doesn't keep you safe, which makes the part that does keep you safe pretty much pointless, which makes this ability kind of two things. Either you ignore the defensive benefit and focus on the crit chance, which is, I suspect, what a lot of people do, or you use it mostly as a panic button. You also, unless they change this, you can't refresh this while it's active. So if you have the damage part, you can't use it again and get the invulnerability part. I just don't love this kind of ability. I feel like it would fit a game other than Warframe that is more like bursty, but Warframe is often a kind of flow-esque game where things are happening about the same amount all the time. I don't know that I feel like you do get into situations where like suddenly now you're taking way more damage, you know? So I've never been the biggest fan of this ability, but it is obviously very powerful. It makes your whole team invulnerable. It gives you big crit chance, much more on headshots. It's a great ability, of course. I think we should talk about augments. But anyway, I'll stop for a moment. That was most of what I had to say. We will talk about augments and then get into making some builds. You know, Harrow is a frame where there's a lot of places you could start. Like, there's a lot. This is a lot of stuff. Helminth abilities in particular, I'm quite interested to see what people recommend, because I feel like Harrow really checks some heckin' boxes, you know? There are some great Helminth abilities that give you a ton of overshields. Harrow has one of them already. There are some great Helminth abilities that give you a ton of reload speed and lifesteal on all your weapons. Harrow has one of them already. There are some great abilities that restore a lot of energy to you, and Harrow has one already. And there are some great damage buffs, which Harrow has one already. So, it doesn't mean there's no sense removing anything. But I do think this frame it's a more interesting choice. It's not like there's some obvious thing missing, or one of the abilities feels like the obvious ability out, to me, anyway. Yes. But yeah, Emo Nemo, that's a good way to put it. What I was trying to express about Covenant, I kind of like the way you said it better. It's like it's sort of a two-piece ability, and because you can only have one piece and then the other piece in that order and never at the same time, it kind of feels like you need to plan around either one half or the other half. It feels like one half of it becomes kind of secondary, which I just don't love. Like, it's not bad. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a preference, I guess, but Harrow's abilities remind me of late meta Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Yeah. I haven't played enough Yu-Gi-Oh to know what you're talking about, but I think that's interesting. Bastards, you said I infuse Thermal Sunder. Oh, we're getting right into it. Okay, cool. Sure, tell me. On lower levels, it's super useful, of course. And with Harrow's third ability, it refuels itself. That's interesting. Yeah, Thurible does allow kills with abilities to restore energy. That's interesting. I'll add that to my notes as a thing to keep in mind. Ability kills restore energy through Thurible. Something I knew, but is not something that I had on my radar very much. It does restore energy no matter how you get the kill. That's true. But I hadn't thought about, like, yeah, what if you use an ability that makes it refund itself? That's a cool idea. Sadly, it's not efficient enough at higher levels. I tried to use it in Zerum and Void Cascade, but it wasn't killing the crowds fast enough. Steel Path is impossible levels, obviously. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna recommend that people make a build for something that I don't think kills the, like, Steel Path stuff, unless I feel like it has monumental utility elsewhere. Thermal Sunder is an ability that is commonly cited as a great way to get lower level stuff done, or a thing I've specifically heard is people recommending using it to level a frame, because if a frame gets kills with their powers, they, you can level them up easily that way. That is useful. Like, I've used it for that ladder thing before. But I'm not going to recommend this ability for a build that you would make to be a build you're going to use all the time. I don't think it's good enough in a way that's niche to Harrow. The restoring energy thing is interesting. But at higher levels, the Harrow won't do a meaningful amount of damage with this, I don't think. I feel a damage buff would be good. I personally like a lot of duration for Harrow since his abilities are all based on duration. Something like Zaku's first ability, Roar, or anything else that has good base duration. Yeah, personally, I am less excited about those damage abilities, those kind of big ticket item damage abilities. And by the way, me pushing back against these things doesn't mean they're a bad idea. This is so people can decide, like, do you think that sounds cool? Then ignore me and do it. Like, just to be clear. I don't find the idea of putting on, like, Roar or something appealing, because this is already such a substantial crit buff that I feel like you could put only a fairly minor damage buff on the build, and everything would still do way more than enough damage. It doesn't need to be a very good damage buff, is another way I'd put it. I'd be perfectly happy with, like, Arcane Arachne or Vigorous Swap or something that just adds some base damage. It's a substantial amount of base damage, far less than those other abilities do. but it doesn't take a Helminth ability. I don't know. Another thing is that I think one of the tricky things with Harrow is that these abilities are kind of quietly a damage increase for some weapons. Condemn makes Penance last longer, and then Penance's reload speed and fire rate increase the damage of most, if not all, weapons by quite a bit. And so I mean, you could replace Thurible, but in some ways I'm less excited about that. That does make me think, like, but what about replacing Condemn, though? I do think Condemn is maybe the weakest link. What you said about duration is, I think, worth discussing. Duration is really good with Thurible because you charge up a lot of energy into it, and then you get to keep that for a while. And I also think it's good with Covenant because in practice, I would rather have the crit. And the protection, I don't know. Like, again, I sort of feel like I want a way to stay alive without it. Something to consider is the augment for Covenant. This lets you get headshots to extend the critical chance bonus. And a lot of people play Harrow in a way where they're just trying to keep that active forever, which shouldn't be too hard to do. When you look at it, even just building a little bit of duration, you already have like 19 seconds to work with, and then you get like 5 seconds or so back when you get a headshot, 4.5, which is pretty good, I think. I think that's a good approach. So the idea of building around duration, I think a great place to start with these types of abilities, these types of frames, is thinking about like what's the common thread between a lot of the things they can do well. And something interesting about Harrow that begins to emerge is that a lot of these abilities, like, while they do a lot of stuff, it doesn't seem like they require much different from each other. I don't know if I want to build a ton of duration for Penance, but neither do I feel like I need it for Covenant if we have Lasting Covenant. And this ability doesn't need a lot of duration because I can extend it using shields. So in a way, that's kind of appealing. Again, Condemn, I would argue, doesn't benefit very highly from duration, because if you stun a bunch of enemies and hold them still and their head is vulnerable for 6 seconds, they're just going to die. But again, it's nice for Thurible, and the duration is quite high with only prime continuity, but certainly moderate duration. I don't think we want to dump duration if we're going to use those abilities those ways, which is a good sign. We can begin to narrow down what the build feels like it could do well by thinking about that. Prime continuity seems to do a lot. I'm quite a big fan of Lasting Covenant because of the way that I feel Covenant is kind of binary, as I discussed. And yeah, then we can go from there. We can look at these two other weird augments and have a great place to start. So yeah, I think that's a good way to think of it. Duration is smart. Personally, I don't know if I feel like I need a ton, but it doesn't seem like a bad idea. So you could do more than this, certainly. Large man, welcome back. How you doing? And Ace, you said, does Covenant's damage immunity apply to non-player allies like Spectres? I don't know. Does it? That's interesting. You're talking about like you make your own Spectre and then you apply this to it? That's interesting. I don't know. That seems like it would be hard-ish to test. We might be able to figure it out. I'll write that on the list. Does Covenant apply to Spectres? We're really only going to be able to easily check if the invulnerability applies, and then you could assume that it applies the damage thing. But yeah, we could try we'll jump to the simulacrum at some point and try to take a look at that. That's a reasonable thing to look at. Ooh, I like this idea. So another thing that I'm personally interested in is looking at something to use to get shields back for Penance. This ability, to me, has an irritation where when you don't have the shields, it suddenly feels really bad. Like the base duration is... And because this ability is somewhat defensive, it gives your guns better uptime and you get lifesteal. I personally really don't like when this ability is stuck down. So the idea of having a way to recoup the overshields for it really quickly is great. It looks like my past self agreed with you bastards because I already have the Raktek Dark Dagger equipped. Yeah, the idea here is this weapon is a little wonky. if you have shields and you hit an enemy with radiation, you lifesteal shields into overshields, which is a little finicky. But if you can get back a very, very small amount of shielding, basically we just run any auger mod on the build. Casting something will give us a tiny bit of shields, and then we can use the Dark Dagger to life steal it out. I just like this weapon anyway, so you're not going to get any disagreement from me. That sounds fine by me. Yes, apparently we're using this skin. Let's look at a build. And Bastards, you recommended gas, which is a cool idea. Nice. You could also you could put radiation on the enemies yourself outside this weapon. It does have an 8 radiation, so in theory with a lot of status, and the weapon does have a pretty good amount of status. It might be okay. You can see here I have it's a lot, and I'm not sure I really care that much about the damage this weapon does. Do we want to do a heavy attack build? I think no. I think you want Weeping Wounds and just like attack speed. Yeah, and then I can get down with the gas thing, swapping into gas. What are in these slots? I don't know about covert lethality. But yeah, sure. In any case, we can absolutely try that. That sounds fun to me. I think using gas is a smart, like an interesting approach here. Prime Reach, yep. I would do that. Probably want that. More attack speed, maybe? And like, this seems like a good place for quickening. I want a lot of attack speed, and I would like the combo count chance, although I do think that's kind of overrated. It's 20%, but it's still, that's pretty fast. Okay, but I have the mouse wheel, it's fine. Sick, okay, yeah, let's try this. Yeah, I still like this, mostly for the energy restoration. You can see that because of the way, the status chance is based on the weapon's base status chance, which for this weapon isn't so high, and Weeping Wounds is going to give us so much more. Gleaming Blight doesn't actually give you that much status chance. We went from 108 to 78%.
Ahoy, I'm late. What have I missed?
Not a whole lot, but I think the energy restoration is still valuable, and the random viral wouldn't be so bad with a weapon that's doing radiation and gas. Why not? Ragnavar, welcome back. We overviewed Harrow's abilities. We've begun to discuss, Harrow does have a lot of abilities that do a lot of things, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to want to make multiple builds. I think the most helpful thing to think about is, but what makes each of these abilities good? And the first place we went to was, well, duration is quite good, especially with Thurible. And certainly I don't want Penance to have negative duration. Covenant is frustrating to me because you can't recast the invulnerability while you have the crit buff, and the crit buff lasts much longer. It kind of feels like you need to use one half of the ability or the other. And so we're just going to go Lasting Covenant for now. That's personally what I think is more valuable. Harrow has a lot of defensive abilities already, so I also just don't think that making this Warframe invulnerable is actually very good. So we're just going to go for the crit, which means some duration. We have at least the beginning of a place to start. I said that I hate when Penance runs out. So we started to talk about what to do about that. And the Dark Dagger, this weapon will lifesteal you shields into overshields when you hit enemies that have little radiation on them while you have shields. That's some conditions, but it does do a pretty good job of that. And the one problem with this weapon is it's got really bad damage output, is kind of the Achilles heel. But Harrow has a great damage buff, that crit buff. Additionally, this weapon has pretty bad crit chance, which, again, Harrow helps with that. So I think this is an excellent fit, sure. That was Bastards, you recommended that. And that's where we are right now. I'm going to catch up on chat a bit. What do you use for your test enemies in the simulacrum? I'm going to ask you to wait till I go there. I don't remember off the top of my head. I usually use a mix of corrupted enemies. Will weapon range increase the explosion? The explosion. Are you talking about gas? There's no explosion, but Gleaming Blight and gas are not affected by Prime Reach, no. The range is still pretty good, though. Gas is a little small, I suppose. This is really big. The range won't be a problem. But I do still think the dagger is like tiny range. 1.2.75? 1.75, yike, okay. You will benefit from reach a lot. But no, it doesn't increase gas or the Gleaming Blight explosion. I mostly just want this because the random boost of energy is nice, and I just don't think there's a lot here. I don't think there's a whole lot of other mods I want to compete for space here. Maybe it will feel good to add base damage. This is a weapon that I'm not really intending to kill the enemies. I just want to use it to activate penance again by getting shields back. But yeah. Anyway, let me keep catching up on chat. Frosted Santa, welcome aboard. I'm glad you like the Harrow fashion. We came up with it on stream. I gotta give some credit to all of you. Some people didn't like the little electric blue streak, but personally I'm kind of a fan. It's like a Protoss from StarCraft meets Gumball Machine. Meets Bubblegum, I mean. Yeah, anyway, I'm glad you like it. Look at the energy effects on that Rack to Dark Dagger. Wow. Anyway. But yeah, we were talking about using the Rack to Dark Dagger to restore shields into overshields for penance. And I was kind of thinking about heavy attack? Heavy attack? Koala, you said, pretty sure I went heavy on Rakta as building combo was inefficient for just building the shield occasionally. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, the concern is like, do you want to need to build up? You know, this would make it do more status or whatever, but yeah, it might be better to inflict the enemies with radiation elsewhere and then quickly build up a bunch of shields. That's probably better. I normally don't like that idea of, you know, status priming enemies, but I think what's good about it here is that the you're not even going to do that often anyway. Like, the combo probably won't be built up between fights. You could run Naramon, I guess. Let's look at what a heavy attack would look like. A heavy attack build. Excuse me. Doop 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 doop. Ziffagod, welcome back. How you doing? It's been a minute, I believe. What's going on? How are you? I'm just gonna quickly modify this to okay, to be a heavy attack build. So I'm gonna use Corrupt Charge, and we still got our element. Dagger heavy attacks hit twice and force slash and impact. So that's great for condition overload. We have some statuses on here too. Status chance is still pretty good, even though we cut off a bunch. So that's nice. That bodes well. Get a lot of status. Corrupt Charge, and then I think I will build crit damage because Harrow will often be forcing the crit chance, and the heavy attack wind-up speed is desirable anyway. So even when I don't have Covenant active, this is still doing something that I want. And then I'll run, yeah, Covert Lethality. Daggers have the extra combo mod, so you can start at, I think, 3x combo, right? So yeah, I think that's a great choice. Cool. Yeah, we'll have to test that out, but this seems promising. I think the heavy attack thing is the way to go. I think you're right. Right. I wanna survive. Let's talk about survivability, some options. I'm interested in adaptation here because we have the shields and lifesteal, and this applies to both, of course. I don't know if I want just that, but Arcane Guardian is only when your health takes damage, right? Oh no, it's just undamaged. Maybe this is a good fit here. Now, a lot of the time I've said that I don't think that using 2 sources of damage reduction, which each activate when you take damage, is a good idea, because sometimes they just won't activate and you'll die. But if the Warframe has a huge runway of health, you know, over effective health, over shields, health, that they can kind of go through to get to the point where they activate all these, I think maybe it's okay then. So yeah, let's try that. Again, I can stand in front of some enemies on the steel path and see if I die. But in theory, this should be fine because the total health pool should be fairly large. Harrow's default shields are really high too. Wow, I didn't notice that. Use Adaptation and Naira's Hatred with Umbral Vitality for an even 1000 HP for a moral victory. Naira's... Oh no, I don't have Naira's Hatred. Interesting. Okay, let's look that up. One sec. Naira's Hatred. That's just the that's the other duration mod, right? Oh yes, you said health and duration. Right. A moderate duration increase. Yeah, I don't know if I want to build health. Let's try with just this. I always like to be a bit greedy. I don't want to add more health if I don't know I need it. But it sounds reasonable. Another thing that I think is looming is you mentioned Umbral Vitality. Yeah, you know, we should talk about the whole thing with Covenant and Strength, right? Chat, correct me if I'm wrong. But the thing about Covenant is that Strength makes you get more crit from absorbing damage while you're in the invulnerability part, but it doesn't increase the maximum crit that you can get. Which means in practice that it doesn't really do much to build a lot of strength, because at higher levels where you will even use the damage invulnerability, enemies will instantly do enough damage to cap it. So building a lot of strength is maybe not so important. However, strength does affect the energy conversion on Thurible. In other words, you spend energy into Thurible, and strength, not something like efficiency like you might expect, strength makes that energy you spent into Thurible do more. So I do think some strength is good, and that means that Umbral Intensify is suddenly, I mean, Umbral Vitality is suddenly really good. It's hard. I don't think Harrow has the armor for Umbral Fiber to feel too great, but that's the thing about these mods, is like, because we have the other two, it's a good amount of strength as well. You know, it's a good amount of health as well. I don't know about Umbral Vitality. I do think some strength is likely valuable. But yeah, also with penance, right? You know, this is a lot of reload speed, and I do think that on weapons where reload speed is valuable, a lot of reload speed is, you know, that's good. It's already a lot of reload speed. I don't know. And the fire rate, I wouldn't always want to go too high. We could pick a weapon that's interested in that. This ability does numerically benefit very highly from strength. I'm just wondering whether, like, and again, the lifesteal, like, it would just be extra, you know? I don't know. One mod that I do think, yep, there it is. Koala's got it. I think Blind Rage, because it makes this ability more expensive, but then it makes it less expensive by giving you the yeah. So, wait a minute. I've noticed something odd. Okay, hold on. Look at this. Enhance. Okay. The energy conversion says 15%. Gonna put on Umbral Intensify. Now the energy says 21%. Okay, so 15 to 21%, and that was with 40% strength. Now I'm gonna put on Blind Rage. And it only goes from 15 to 19%. Efficiency must dock the energy conversion somewhat as well. Let's just double check that by running an efficiency mod. Yeah. Which means Blind Rage is not a terrible choice or anything, but actually kind of bad in an unintuitive way, because it charges you energy. Oh, we're so zoomed in you can't see the numbers. I'm sorry. I zoomed in so you could see the numbers. Yes, okay, let me do that all again. Excuse me. There isn't really a good way to zoom in to show you it all, but I'll pop this up so you can see better. Right, so it's at 15% energy conversion base, right? Now I'm going to add Umbral Intensify. You can see that the energy conversion went from 15 to 21%. The drain is still the same because that was with strength. Now I'm going to put on an a blind rage, which gives you like twice as much strength but makes you lose efficiency. And you can see that the energy conversion isn't up as much higher as you would expect. That must be because efficiency also affects the energy conversion, which makes blind rage defeat itself a little bit. And we can confirm that because when you put on an efficiency mod, you can see, yes, efficiency does affect the energy conversion. So I would argue that blind rage is kind of bad in this case. It's not terrible, and it's good for the other abilities. I don't know. Personally, not my jam. I feel like it docks a lot of its effect. And I don't love the idea of this ability costing 150 energy. That's just me. It's not a terrible idea, but I don't know. Personally, I think moderate strength would be fine. I really disagree with Koala-chan. You said Harrow's kit really likes strength like Revenant. I think Revenant's a really good example of a frame that cares way more about strength. This is a case where like this ability arguably doesn't actually get any better with strength because you don't actually increase the max crit chance. This ability has a weird relationship with Blind Rage. And then it's really penance. I completely understand if you just want big bongo strength values on this, but that's not a particularly crazy relationship with strength. Yeah, if you were to use Blind Rage, though, that would make me more interested in, flow. Yatagami, you're on it. The idea here is that you would often make energy with Thurible that you wouldn't be able to store. There's an argument for this anyway. I don't know. I guess my feeling about this is if I'm using abilities frequently enough, but then like, will I be? I don't know. Yeah, but it makes sense why you'd want this. I'm very critical of flow broadly, and the reason is that it doesn't give you more energy. It just like it lets you carry around more energy. In a lot of mission types on a lot of builds, you don't need to carry around the energy. But there are some frames where you generate so much energy that it would be wasted if you didn't have anywhere to put it. I like to think of your energy max like a wallet, and this just makes your wallet bigger. That may or may not be good, but if you make this much money, maybe it is good. So I can see flow. I think we maybe put it on. It's really nice to have that big buffer of energy. Sorry, catching back up on chat a little. Roman Riff, thanks for the follow. Welcome aboard. Hope you're enjoying Harrow Buildcraft Day so far. And Audio Forces, thank you for the tier 1 sub for 22 months. I missed you earlier. How you doing, Audio Forces? That was right on the heels of someone else's. What's up? How you doing today? I think that the big thing that I want flow for in this case is like insurance energy. Yeah, like Large Man, what you said. It's a nice safeguard against magnetic procs, which are more common now. Like just having the bulk of energy when you want it. Another thing is that warframes that are quite duration focused, these long duration abilities, do tend to, like, when you do want to spend energy, you might spend it all at once. So having a lot on hand at the same time to rebuff is appealing. Like, I think that sounds nice. Especially if Condemn ends up staying on the build and fuels Penance. So I can get down with flow. Absolutely. Okay, so we've got that stuff. Range. Not a lot on this build is affected by range. I don't know. Covenant is affinity range. Thurible has... How does they work with Thurible? When you get the kill, allies in the range of Thurible get energy. But the default radius is 20 meters, and then Penance doesn't have range. So I don't know about range. Do we dump range a little bit? You could dump range. It'd be really selfish, but yeah, your squad might just be bouncing off the walls to the degree that this won't matter. But I don't know. You could be selfish and dump range here. I don't know. I'm gonna talk about this in a second because I'm starting to think we should just put pillage on here. Which I know you could say about any frame, but really, yeah. Yeah, Tagami, you said there's an interesting synergy with the Augur mods, which convert energy used to shields. In particular, Augur Harrow will not go to 0 shields while casting Penance. Oh, oh, that's very good. When casting Penance as well. So that means that if you're going to use the Rakta Dagger to refuel, even in the moment you cast Penance, you actually don't have 0 shields because it restores them, I guess, after it charges you them. Is that right? That's really good. I was already hoping to slip an Augur mod in, but that's like, we're definitely doing it now. Message secrets? I don't know if I really need the duration or the range at all. Yeah, I think like just some strength maybe. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, some strength to make the thurible energy conversion better. Um, and again, strength is quite good on penance. I'm just not so high on building a ton of it, but it is very effective to build a lot of it. Yeah, okay. And then what else? Like, but what, like aura, for example? Empathetic, thanks to the follow. Welcome aboard. How you doing? We're talking about Harrow stuff. We're a good bit of the way into constructing our build for the day. It's not looking like I'm gonna think it's worth making multiple builds, but we haven't talked about a few of the augments yet, so we'll see. I like it when everything fits on one build, at least in my mind, but again, it's just meant to give you ideas. Could use that for molt efficiency for more duration so long as shields are up. Yeah, okay, sure. Molt efficiency does make some sense here. For those unfamiliar, yeah, while shields are active, you get basically a 36% duration, a moderate duration mod. Seems perfectly reasonable here. I don't know. I'm not sure I feel like I really need the duration, though, myself. This is a perfectly reasonable idea, though. So anyway, as an example. I don't have one. Interesting. Okay. It's been a while since I didn't have an Exilus adapter. Let's look at the other augments. It seems like time. It seems like time, and I've been avoiding it. Let's take a look. Okay. Warding Thurible. Harrow, stop being so weird, Harrow. Why do you have all of these ultra effective damage reduction abilities, but that don't work like most of the time? So everybody will just die when they're not like. I don't know. It's weird. I just feel like I guess you could trade them off. Like you could do this and then Covenant. And people are not always in danger. They're just usually taking steady damage. Here's what it says. Allies in range take 50% less damage while you're channeling Thurible, and grant 1 additional energy charge whenever damaged. So the main thing here, if you're not going to try to use some kind of weird, you swap between these two abilities support Harrow, which by the way, that sounds quite cool. It's just not really my jam. The main thing here is that while you're channeling Thurible, it gets stronger if enemies are taking damage. Which, yeah, like I think I would need to play a little bit and see how effective I felt like that was. Personally, I'm not that excited about the damage reduction, but let's just see like, oh, it is increased by strength. That's something. Yeah, I don't know. Again, like I think it. First of all, I'm just not very high on like co-op Buildcraft and Warframe. It's cool. I just think it doesn't apply that much. Don't get me wrong. Like if you have a friend you play Warframe with all the time, like don't let me stop you. That sounds cool. I don't. So anyway, but yeah, like the energy thing. Like I could imagine that being effective. It looks like it's affected by strength as well. You get more energy per second. Anyway, we'll play with this. We'll play with that. But we gotta talk about Tribunal. Okay. When you use Condemn on enemies, other players trigger Penance and Thurible when attacking them. So I think this is very bad. And the reason is that the main problem with something like Penance and Thurible is that if you don't get to enemies first, you don't get the health or mostly the energy. And this doesn't, like, you have to get to the enemy first still to cast Condemn on them. and then your allies can kill steal your energy. Well, I mean, anyway, I don't really like this mod. Personally, I think this is a mod that I like the idea a lot that your allies can like share the buffs with you. I like that idea, but personally, I think this is a symptom of Warframe's overall ailment of like it's a co-op game where you're worse off when your allies kill the enemies. Now, you should get the energy if you get to the enemies first, but my point is, if you get to the enemies first, you could just kill them yourself and get the energy from Thurible. So this just means that you still need to get to the enemies first, but then you cast Condemn, and then if they kill them, then you could get the energy. Like what? It doesn't really feel like it solves a problem. Is my point. And Condemn hits in a thin line, and in such a way over terrain that I personally don't like range. I can understand, like, if you like to snipe enemies with Condemn, that makes sense to me. I do not think that that is directly obviously beneficial, but if you used it a lot, you're a better player than me, you maybe could get some benefit there. I think that at the very least, Natural Talent has got to go in here. Somebody mentioned that, right? Yes. I just feel like these abilities can take some time. I just think Harrow's ability animations are very slow, excuse me. Now, the argument against this is that with the build we've made, you're not going to activate Covenant again. You're only going to activate Thurible once every minute, and doesn't this not affect Thurible? Or affect it in a weird way? And then so it's like almost only Penance. And this is a one-handed action, so you can do it while shooting, and we might replace it with a Helmet ability. So it would only be Penance, and like this is going to have like a minute-long duration too. I don't know. I like how Natural Talent feels on this frame. I feel like the animations are pretty long, but I'm going to skip it for now. Let's play this. Let's form something. Probably growing power on the aura slot. Right? Yeah. I think that's what I'm going to do. Dude, I've used so much Aura Forma. Oh, right, but you gifted me like a million Aura Forma. Yatagami, I believe, that was you. Let's make sure I'm not miscrediting that gift. I actually do want this because I'm going to run Vigilante Pursuit, baby. We'll talk about this in a second. Yeah. We do be doing that. It was you, Yatagami. Thank you very much. We are definitely making use of those Aura Forma. I was not very high on Aura Forma when they first came out, but I've used them a ton. They're for me. Like, they're literally not for anyone else. Like, the person who makes tons of different builds on like every single frame, like they're literally for me. I don't know what my problem was. Anyway, Vigilante Pursuit. It's just the enemy radar. It doesn't have to be this. You could use whatever else. Enemy radar. So if you play Harrow, you may find that you are very troubled by allies killing enemies before you can get to them, which makes you unable to maintain your energy. Now, this is just kind of a problem with Warframe in general, right? Because it's not actually going to make you lose the mission most of the time. If everything is dying before you can get to them, then you are going to succeed at the mission. What you're not going to be able to do is play the video game. This is just a problem with Warframe broadly, but I do think Harrow has it worse than a lot of frames. This is a somewhat controversial way to think about it, but here's my thought. If you build enemy radar, you are showing yourself enemies from further away, but you're also showing your allies enemies from further away. If you use an enemy radar mod here, you see enemies from literally further away than your allies do, which the theory goes that would help you get kills to sustain your energy, which again, like it's not actually necessary if everything is dying, but it's fun to kill enemies. It's fun to get to kill enemies. That's why we're playing the Horde shooter, you know? So I would recommend giving this a try for a little while and seeing if you feel like you are using it, and maybe you are not. I don't know if I am. That's the idea. That's the thought. I want an Exilus forma now, though. I can feel that. Yeah. Or some kind of universal, some kind of universal ones. Your Harrow seems like a basket case. Can't figure out if he's a team player or not. Ooh, savage burn to the Harrow. That's brutal. Let's grab some weapons and pick like a focus and go from there. What? 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 Okay. What? I haven't had. I must have been forever since I came back to this loadout. Um, how about a radiation weapon? How about a weapon that puts radiation on enemies for the Rakta Dark Dagger? That's not entirely necessary. Just like they would be a bit extra, but why not? Um, where's my Hellstrom? What's this have on it right now? Toxin and gas? You could switch that to radiation. Come on. Live a little. Let your hair down. Um, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Why not, electricity? So I think the reason I wanted gas. Yeah, wait, what? Don't do this. Do electricity. Let me explain. Why did I have. This is literally just better. Okay. um, I think I wanted gas past Sandy, who is apparently an idiot, wanted gas on this weapon. Because if you use the Hellstrom, which doesn't do very much damage, but does a lot of status, if you use it with something like Death Cube, it makes it hit enemies in an AoE, the gas triggers, and will touch more enemies in a crowd. Does that make sense? Which is good with Energy Generator and Synth Deconstruct on all companions. This will just give you more assist credit because your companion's weapon will touch more enemies. But electricity does the same thing. Electricity also does that, and now we also have radiation on the explode. What? Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, do this. Don't do the thing it was. Try this. It's literally just better. The Nautilus, this is just my default. I might pick something else. Maybe we should use Worm. Yeah. For negate, if the build is going to survive mostly on overshields, this will occasionally save you from death. It's a nice convenience. Crowd dispersion is mostly just the space programmability, but sending enemies to space is fun. I don't know. It's a good get off me ability in all seriousness, but this is really bad with the Rakta Dark Dagger because you'll try to get close to enemies to melee them and they'll get yeeted away. Okay, so that's kind of a non-bow. Personally, I don't prefer to make like different builds for my companion, but you could just take this off if you want negate. I'm not gonna do that. I had another idea, and it was Taxon. Yes. The idea is that you'd frequently get overshields, some shields. This can also give overshields. Now, Guardian can be put on any companion. I don't really like this that much. I believe that this has a shorter cooldown. Let's see if that's true. Simply meaning that, Taxon would be meaningfully better at that than just any random companion. But again, you could make a companion custom for Harrow. I just don't do that. It's nothing wrong with it. 12 seconds on molecular conversion, according to the wiki. Wiki tends to be right about that kind of thing, from my experience. And Guardian is a 30-second cooldown, so it is true. I assumed this is a lot less often than this, and that is true. But there isn't really a reason not to use this too. I'm just not the biggest fan. Cool. So yeah, that's an option that'd be nice here. I personally think that when we talk about niches, like where are you playing this, it might be worth considering using a more general use companion because Harrow does have just a breadth of abilities, right? I could definitely see this as a Warframe where people are going to use their more general options, specifically like a Smedikavat is like fairly obviously what I'm talking about. You might simply want Charm. If you're running a Smedikavat for that, that's fine. Or like a lot of people use Helios because they like collecting the scans. It's not my cup of tea, but that makes sense. I don't know, sure. I think Harrow is a frame maybe a lot of people are going to stray in the direction of like a generalist. Maybe that's wrong. Sounds like Hentai Prime. I literally use a Darzakavat every time, no reason to have anything else due to charm. Well, there are many reasons to use other things. You mean a Smedikavat. But charm is very broadly valuable. There are lots of benefits to using other companions. There are many, many other reasons to use other companions. But if you like having charm all the time, I don't really disagree. I think it's a nice convenience. Then again, I think Harrow is a sensible generalist choice. You could make any Warframe like that, but Harrow does have very broad abilities. What do we think for other weapons? I don't know. I was working on the Phalarx. Maybe I'll just equip that since we're going to play a bit. Just to level. Yeah, I'll do that for now. Not that this is a terrible choice anyway. You know, you can hold enemies still and get headshots off them. I'm not sure what helmet ability we're going to use, if any. It's almost always an upgrade to pick one, but anyway. Yeah, we'll just pop into a mission really quick and level a touch, see how the build is feeling. This might not actually give that much good information, but we'll do the best we can. And we'll really get into playing the build a bit more after the break. Wonder how good Smite would be here. That's an idea. To proc radiation for the Rack to Dark Dagger. Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to keep in mind that that is like it's a fairly small thing. Like, you don't need it a lot of the time. But it's a nice idea. I don't know. I mean, in that case, I feel like there are a lot of weapons that kind of do the thing automatically. Okay. Hello there? Do you mind? I was not fast enough. But yeah, this build is going to require some startup. Again, I was thinking like pillage is maybe somewhat boring feeling, but legitimately really, really good here. Oh, right, we were supposed to do heavy attacks. Oh, you get so much overshield so quick. That's badass. Oh, it's really good. Oh, we got to go to the Simulacrum. Oh my god, wait, forget this. No, we're going to the Simulacrum. That's nasty. Okay, to whoever said that's credit. You definitely go for the heavy attack on the Rack to Dark Dagger. That's sick. Oh, it's so good. You like instantly get 2,000 overshields. That's incredible. Okay. Yeah. We're going over here. I'm totally taking off Condemn. That's just me, but yeah. Heavy Attack Gaming. Ah, yes. Heavy Attack Gaming. My new YouTube channel name. Let's T-Perm. It was real good. That made me smile. That was all right. Okay, yes. So, right. Remember, when you have shields, you need to have some shields. But we do have an augur mod, so if you've just cast an ability, you'll be fine. You do a heavy attack with this, and you will get big bongo chongo levels of overshield. So watch this. Some corrupted heavy gunners, whatever. And then you get in there and oh, there it is. Oh, wait. Oh, there it is. And the slash status effect that you do, Dagger's heavy attacks force slash status effects. That restores overshields too as it bleeds out. That's sick. That's really good. So yeah, I strongly agree with the idea of a heavy attack on the Rack to Dark Dagger. Again, this weapon is a little finicky. I think they changed it too, but currently this weapon will lifesteal you shields and overshields when it does damage if the target has radiation on them and you have shields. I know that's extremely finicky. Like, why? Honestly, why? But anyway, I mean, it's more balanced that way, I guess. But you need to have shields, any amount of shields, and the enemy has to have radiation. Great way is with your companion. Again, we have the Hellstrom just barfing out radiation. And then the idea is if you do a heavy attack with this, not only will that do just colossal apocalyptic levels of damage and probably actually kill things, the slash status effect that daggers, just this whole class of weapon forces, uh, also works with the Rack to Dark Dagger's like shield life stealing thing, which will constantly restore shields to you. Because of the kind of broken way that shield gating works right now, that should render you essentially immortal for a little while. Like while the enemy's bleeding, you should be pretty much impossible to kill. I'll now do that. And their enemy's bleeding and I'm restoring shields. And they like can't even, they're just attacking each other. But even if they attack me, I'm just getting so many shields back. Oh, that's so good. And you can spend them all on this and then you get, oh, you get them right back. That's so sick. Dude, you spend all 2,000 shields and then you get them all back in like 1 second. That's badass. Oh, oh, that's so nasty. That's so chunky. Love it. Don't love this form of this weapon, but yeah. Do you see what I'm doing here? That's sick. Anyway, so yeah, definitely do that. Or at least let it be an inspiration. There's plenty of weapons that'd be nice with. This is a good fit. I suppose. Wait, I could have sworn we swapped this to gas. Empathetic, absolutely. That's a great idea. I could have sworn we literally did that. Did it not save the build? Didn't chat. I'm not crazy, right? We literally did that earlier, didn't we? I'm just silly and didn't swap to gas. Absolutely. There's no reason it needs to be corrosive anyway. The lingering damage thing is the draw, and you can double up on that with gas. Absolutely, yeah. Now, I don't know if you really care about how much gas damage. Normally I'd be interested in Prime Fever Strike. I think I would rather just have the status chance. Then again, you'll get the gas more often. 78 to 96 status. That is a lot more reliable if you go Virulent Scourge. If you have an appetite for it, you could use Proton Snap. More toxin damage, about the same status chance, but you've got a wall latch to get it. I believe that's a bit finicky for something that I think is a minor feature of the build, but if you really like that, then it's a good mod. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure I really care about, but then like, do I care about condition overload? I don't know. But yes, I think gas is an awesome idea. Thank you. I don't know how that even happened. We totally put that on there. I don't know. Anyway, yes, totally do gas. This is the perfect situation for gas damage. Although I do think that it's a shame how the enemies will take, it'll be pretty nominal damage, but it will still give you little bits of shield, which will trigger shield gating very effectively. And again, I do want to stress, since you mentioned the radiation AoE primer, I wanted to stress that I would really recommend building this companion weapon this way in general, not just for this loadout. I just think it has most of the benefits. You get an area of effect damaging status effect for tagging for assists, and you also get a secondary debuffing effect, radiation. This weapon also doesn't do like that many stacks of status effect, so I'm not personally so excited about something like heat in this case. It's fine, like it would be fine. You could absolutely do like viral, for example, and that would be fine. I just feel like a lot of weapons are going to do it anyway. I'd rather just have the weapons do that. I do think radiation is a good general use choice here too. Nice. Cool. Okay, we have to break. Before we do that, I want to thank some people that have been supporting the show. Pow. Let's go below decks and take a look. Couple of new subscribers today. Audio Forces Ragnavar and Emily with the resubs. All of you resubbing for quite a long time and hopefully enjoying your time in the gun ports of the Zandy vessel. Thanks very much for joining us. And for your continued support. That is the only reason I can keep doing this for a living, so I really appreciate it. And Empathetic and Roman Riff, you folks are our new follows today. Hope you enjoy your time aboard the vessel, coming aboard on that glorious rope. And we also had a few people follow while I was offline, including I Believe in Magic, which, by the way, right on. And I will talk to you all in just a few. Oh, hello, and welcome back to Parlay, a series that I use to answer questions submitted by the audience. This is my Twitch archive Parlay. This is something where people can submit questions for free, and I answer them during the break in the stream. So you'll see a form in chat in a few minutes. If you submit a question there, I'll answer it this time next week. I stream other days of the week, and those have their own forms. Hopefully that means you'll get your answer a day that you would be free to watch this stream around this time next week. Anyway, we have one question today from the Big Dong, Zhong. Yes, Zhong Li from Genshin Impact. Is this a reference to that? Anyway, Zhong, I'm sure his package is ample. Let's leave it at that. Zhong asks if I'll be covering TennoCon 2022. I will not. Thank you for asking. I am focused on making builds, and news is usually kind of bad. It's bad before it's good, at least, when you're trying to talk about build stuff. Because when new items to make builds with are added into a game, they generally get some changes, some iteration, before they kind of stabilize. And indeed, a kind of a trade-off when you make builds in an ongoing game like Warframe or Genshin Impact, compared to a game that doesn't get frequent updates, like Hades isn't, getting patches that change what things do, for example. A trade-off with games like this is that your build can change even if you don't change it, which is good and bad. It's cool that new Buildcraft toys get added to the game, but there are some problems too. Patches are a particularly bad time for that. They're a time where I, a person who just wants to provide you with an example of a build that you might find fun, have to think about whether any examples I tried to give you that I thought would be helpful have been invalidated by that patch. Now, if it makes the whole game better, that's fine. Whatever, I'll do my job and update it. But I don't want to make a lot of videos. A lot of creators think of news and updates as being really good, but they're only good if you want to make a lot of videos. They're not good if you want to make useful videos, because they mean that your previous videos were invalidated. If you want to make future-proofed videos, which is what I want to do, you're not happy about that. I have infinite other videos I want to make. I don't want to make an update of the same thing I made because some small but crucial piece of information was upended. And so, to be honest, I don't look forward to games that have a lot of turnover like this. Personally, I feel a critique of Warframe is that there's kind of more iteration than there needs to be sometimes. I often feel like the initial form of most content added to Warframe is kind of bad, really should be released better than that. They often get it to a pretty good place, not for nothing. I think Focus is a good example. There's a lot of examples. Occasionally, I think an iteration makes the thing overall worse. Status recently. I don't think there's nothing good about the status changes they made, but there were also some bad things that I don't really feel needed to be in there. It didn't need to be good but also bad. It could have just been all good. I feel like a lot of these things really need more testing. And so that's very frustrating to me as a creator. My least favorite thing about covering Warframe is that. But it is kind of a cost of talking about builds. In any case, I hope you can understand how it's really just not my purview. This is not really a Warframe channel. This is a channel about making builds. I just think Warframe has notable buildcraft. And so, yeah, you can expect me never to cover news about Warframe. It's not impossible that I would occasionally discuss a news-related topic in Warframe. It might be because, for example, I did a sponsorship with Digital Extremes, the company that makes Warframe, a year and a half ago. And no, it was a year ago now, about a year ago for Ureli. And that was a really good fit because they let me play Ureli before Ureli released. This meant that I got to give you some input, some of the things that I I thought about Ureli before it would have been possible to make a video like that. Like if I hadn't had access to that, yeah, they still made changes to Ureli, but I gave you my input, what I thought about Ureli, some ideas for buildcrafting Ureli, for what I think was a good compromise. Like I got to do that far earlier than would otherwise have been possible. I'm happy if you're excited about new things in games. It can just be troublesome for talking about builds. Sometimes the trade-off is worth it, but most of the time I don't think it is. So anyway, thank you for asking. I hope you're excited about it. I'm excited to just like play Warframe and enjoy that stuff. But from a work, from a pleasure, no, you can expect me not to talk about news related stuff pretty much ever, I would say. Like not just for Warframe and not just now, just sort of in general. It's not my cup of tea. But I look forward to the stable aftermath it will create. On with the show. On with the show indeed, but first, above decks to thank a few more, particularly glorious supporters. Black Sheep, my most recent patron, very happy to have you. Thank you very much for supporting my job, my life, paying for me to exist, making builds all the time. I really appreciate it. And Black Sheep, I really enjoyed your parlay question as well. Folks, Black Sheep has Parlay, which is a Q&A service I do. You basically get your own podcast once a month. And these are free for everybody to try, so you can listen to them, the ones made for other people, even if you don't pay for it. If you want that, they're here. And also to Shalstep for the extremely generous $290 tip. Thank you very much. Having some windfalls like that amidst steady support is what makes up my income, so I really appreciate it. And Multigrain, thanks for the follow. Glad to have you. Hope you're enjoying yourself. Hope you're having a good time. We ride on. And I'm also going to plug you if you wanted to ask a question during that segment, the Q&A segment, you can submit that here. There you are. Right, so let's we'll maybe grab a few other weapons and then get back out there and just play the loadout a bunch. I want to talk about helmet abilities too. Specifically, I'm not sure that I'm convinced that this is useful. It crowd controls enemies, and it does make it easier to get headshots against them. But if you wanted the big damage from Covenant, you could just use a weapon that has like pellets, for example. The Phalarx is a good example. That's just kind of a cloud that you fire that I find makes it easy to hit the head. That'll be preference, of course. But that's why I'm not that excited about Condemn holding enemies still. It does generate a lot of overshields, but as we've just discussed, this also generates a colossal amount of overshields. I will be direct, I just don't think Condemn is very good. It's not terrible, it's got benefits, but I don't like it. I think it's sort of slow. It would often be, it is a one-handed action, so you can do it while shooting enemies. It's fine. This is fine. If you like this and keep it, you're not like wrong or whatever, obviously, but just especially in this case, there's nothing wrong with keeping this, but I think I'm going to get rid of it. For what though? That's the thing. Like, I don't think I'm gaining enough from this that I want to keep it on, but what do I want instead? And for the same reason I don't feel like I need this that much, I don't really feel like I need Pillage that much either. Pillage would be great, of course. I think it's a more overshields from an ability if you want that. It might be unexciting. This is good on a lot of Warframes, but it is an upgrade here, probably. You'll probably be getting a lot more overshields really quickly. That's fine, because I'm pretty high on the Rack to Dark Dagger thing. I'm not that excited about it. And then if you start going through the other stuff we have, right? Like, what else do I want? I don't know. I mean, so let's do that. But we might need to stretch a bit to get something truly new. We got lifesteal, we got a reload speed buff, we got a fire rate buff, we got another damage buff from Covenant, we got invulnerability, we have a damage restoration, an energy restoration ability. What else do we need? We have multiple different damage increases. Personally, I think pretty irrelevantly high survivability because of the overshield generation from the Rack to Dark Dagger and the lifesteal. And then, yeah, like the fire rate and the reload speed. What? Use that fat wallet to pay for Gloom? I guess. I don't know. I mean, again, it's like the life steal. Gloom is great, of course, but the life steal here is kind of redundant because we already have that. I don't know. I don't think that's that great here. I mean, it's great as it always is, really. And you're right that we have a lot of energy to maintain it. That is good. I don't know. I want something more. More power. I guess a grouping ability. That's basically what it is, isn't it? Like something, just to group enemies up. Yeah, I guess, right? H Panda, thanks for the follow. Welcome aboard. How you doing? I'm in deep consternation trying to figure out what helmet ability I want to replace Condemn with, because I feel like I don't really need overshield generation. I don't really want another damage effect. I don't really need life steal. I don't know. I mean, Ensnare would be straightforwardly useful. This would still get you your headshot-tastic defensive effect, and it's a grouping ability. And the build has good duration, although it doesn't have great range at the moment. You could build a little range on, that'd be fine. But it's not amazing, right? Farmer Joe Prime, thanks for the follow as well. Welcome aboard. A bit more people than usual today. Good to see y'all. What's going on? We're a very tight little community, so I have plenty of time to respond to your questions and suggestions for stuff for the build we're working on, so please don't hesitate to do that. I would really be thankful for it, actually, because this eventually becomes videos on the Xanapants YouTube channel. Is there augment space? Yeah, I think so. A lot of people said they like natural talent here. Personally, I think that because the because Covenant, I'm using Lasting Covenant, and then I have duration, so Thurible lasts like a minute. This is gonna last like over a minute. Yeah, like, I love natural talent, how it feels, because Harrow's animations are quite slow, but by the numbers, it doesn't actually do very much the way I'm playing this. Yeah, like Ensnare would make sense, but the build doesn't have a ton of range, which is why I'm not that excited about it. But it, like, enemies are standing, so they're vulnerable to headshots. That's nice. I'd suggest eating some ice cream, and that's a perfectly valid suggestion. There's nothing, and so what that's going to do is it's going to distract you from the fact that we don't need to put any other abilities on this build. Very good suggestion. We're just going to keep going through other ones, but unfortunately, the best suggestion was just made, so unfortunately, there are no other good suggestions. But yeah. Speaking of boring options, Breach Surge. Oh no, that's somewhat clever. It spreads your big crits and some radiation status. This is a little, listen, I like to mention these abilities that are just obviously good everywhere when it's a little bit better here. It is better than usual on this build. I still don't think it's great. I feel like it's important not to over focus on, not that you are, but I really was, on the like radiation priming thing. And we've got a sentinel to do it. Like it'll happen. Getting a breach surge spark on the crits from the headshots from Covenant is good. That's good. This is quite broadly useful elsewhere. I do think it's a little better than usual here, but I'm still not into it. I'm being picky, chat. Give me a big bongo ability. But a breach surge is, yes, like, of course, breach surge, but that is actually a good idea. Like, I'm happy you, and I see Koala, you also brought it up. Mayhaps the rare status protection helmet ability. Okay, interesting. Sentient Wrath is something we've not used before. Yeah, but I don't think it's that good. It does make enemies vulnerable to damage, but this build already has a lot of a couple of different damage increases. So I'm not that excited about that. We have the energy. We have a lot of energy, so that's something. Doing mad hops with this ability would be, we can pay for it, And Vampire, you were suggesting its excuse me, hideous resistance gives you status immunity. So my main gripe with this one would normally be that I like oftentimes there's like a status that is the culprit, and in this case, because we're relying on overshields to stay alive, it's really toxin. But I think I'd be more inclined to use the Warframe arcane that makes you immune to toxin status. And I was never that high on that one that gives right now we have an arcane on on Harrow that gives you more duration that I just don't think is really necessary on this build. It's good though. I think this is a real option. Vampire, I'm happy you recommended this because I'm sure most of you are thinking, but this is just not that exciting. But like that's kind of what this is for. Is like you don't need anything, but you're just like, why not? You know? Um, I think this is a perfectly fine option. I'm happy you brought this up. That's a good starting point as a discussion thing. I have mint ice cream. Glorious. You gotta have mint ice cream. Energized munitions. I am a big fan of energized munitions. However, I think it's worse than usual in this case because Harrow has a reload speed buff. It's also better because he has a fire rate buff. I don't know. Personally, I think that if we have so much reload speed, this doesn't do a lot. So I'm not that high on it. But needing to reload is still a damage loss, so I don't think this is a bad idea. This is just a very good ability, too, in my opinion. You find the right weapon for this, and this can be something special. That's a perfectly reasonable idea. Again, I do think it has slight non-bow with Harrow, because you do increase your reload speed by a lot, too. But not a bad idea at all. A particular case where I think this would be really good if you use energized munitions and you're still doing penance, so you have fire rate and reload speed and ammo efficiency. There's one weapon that comes to mind. So if you wanted to do that, I think it's the comb. This is the only weapon I can think of where I want to shoot it faster. I also want to reload it quicker, but also the ammo is worrying me, you know? And I don't know that I don't feel like an ammo mutation is often enough for this weapon. I could see that. You know, again, like energized munitions would normally be good with this, but I would like to have fire rate and reload speed on this weapon too. Really, I just think energized munitions is like pretty spicy with this weapon. In fact, since you mentioned that, that's going in the notes. I'm not sure I'm going to do it here, but that's a good idea. You well could. Energized munitions plus comb. Okay. Humor me for just a minute, won't you? Right, so the comb, this thing increases its pellet count as it spools up. It shoots faster, but it also fires more stuff. So shooting this for longer, like increasing the ammo efficiency, is like increasing the magazine size, and you don't have to pay ammo for it. And this weapon would benefit a lot from like a bigger magazine, so it can fire at that full spool, greater efficiency for longer. Like that's very cool. It is legitimately really good. I had not thought of that until you mentioned it. And some fire rate and reload speed would be nice with this weapon as well. So yeah, like that's a good option. Oh yeah, and he can add a lot of crit chance. Oh, that's kind of good. All right, well that might be it. That might be it. Let's keep looking at other things, but that's a great idea. Oh yeah, yeah. The crit actually does benefit it a lot too. Yeah. All right, what else we got? I'll see you later, Emo Nemo. Thanks for watching. One other thing that came to mind, because the only purpose of this is to give you options anyway, is I wouldn't hate having like base health. It's just not very good though, because we have so many, it like only benefits you for the first like 2 seconds of a mission before you get all the stuff up and running. That's not so bad. This might be a good Warframe for something like Golden Instinct, where, you know, if you feel like you don't need anything else, you get a very complete frame that would then just go look for loot. Personally, I would rather use something like Golden Instinct on a frame that is a little bit more specialized to go like go get the loot, like a speedy frame, basically a speedy frame. But I don't think this is a bad idea on a frame like this. Sure. Zada's Whisper. We talked about it a lot early in the stream. I'm not the biggest fan because Harrow already has several damage increases, the fire rate and reload speed, and the crit chance. And I just think this is a lot of damage the build doesn't particularly need. That is always subjective. Like if you would use that damage increase, that's awesome. Like it is a very large damage increase because you have so many other good damage buffs that combine with it, that multiply with it. I definitely won't. For my account, all my weapons will easily slaughter everything that I ever need to kill without this, with Harrow's other buffs. But that's all subjective. If you wanted this, it is true that on a frame with many different damage multipliers, this is like even more damage. I'm not totally into it. You saw I was actually a little bit into it. What I was using this for off stream was pellets with the Philarchs. If you get you all told me on Tuesday, if you get a headshot with void status, the void status effect bubble makes all the subsequent shots headshot. It like magnetizes things to the place you procced void on the body of the enemy. What? Which is apparently true. I was trying it out and that seems like it's true. Since when? That's cool. Good. That's really good. So yeah, anyway, that exists if you want it. No, Crazy Stick, that's fine. You're not supposed to know that. Just to say, for the folks that had, I say that because I don't want other people to be like, we talked about that before. Like, sure, but you don't know that. You're fine. Yeah, perfectly reasonable damage increase. Bum. Banana bread. I also wanted to go back to some earlier weapon suggestions that might help inspire us from Ace. You said, I enjoy weapons like the Corinth, and Simulor that can be manually detonated, like above enemies' heads. Yes, I wanted to talk about this. I think it's a fun way to get more headshots with Harrow. I'm going to write manual detonation weapons. The Simulor, that's been a while. Pixel, welcome back. I got confused for a moment. I was like, Joey? Pixel. You're not the same person. Pixel, welcome back. Joey, thanks for the raid. How was it? How you doing today? Joey, we're toward the end of the month. We gotta hang out. Joey and I were talking earlier this month about some stream schedule plans that Joey had, which it sounds like Joey, you folks that were watching Joey's stream, you were probably just enjoying. So I hope it's been going well. I'm looking forward to hearing about it. Red Drone, welcome back. What's going on? We were talking about Harrow Helminth abilities, and this is not a bad problem to have, but like, you don't really need anything. I don't think you need Condemn that much. We've been popping off with the Rakta Dark Dagger to get mad over shields. So I'm trying to replace Condemn with something, and I don't really feel like you need damage buffs when he's got a lot of ways to increase your damage. I don't really feel like lifesteal or shield restoration or energy restoration or like any of that stuff would really be valuable the way that I'm planning to use Harrow. So, you know, we talked about Breach Surge is legitimately a little better than usual here because of radiation, activating the Rakta Dark Dagger, and the Spark might be a crit from Covenant. That was a good idea that chat mentioned. I like the idea of like the ultra niche ones. Like, this is kind of good because if you survive based on overshields, this makes you immune to Toxin, but you could just use a Warframe Arcane that does that too, which may or may not have a better marginal benefit, but that's an option. I don't know, there's not a whole lot. You could use a grouping ability. Ensnare keeps enemies vulnerable to headshots because they get grouped together in a standing crowd. That's an option. Very early on in the stream, we talked a little bit about Thermal Sunder. The idea here is that Harrow's Thurible restores energy to you when you get kills, no matter how you get the kill. So, except at very high levels, this will often pay for itself. You can pretty much just spam it, and enemies will die and refund it. But at the levels where I will care what I chose for this helmet ability, I'm not killing enemies with this. So that's why I'm not thrilled about it. It is an interesting tool on Harrow. Two people mentioned Thermal Sunder, so I guess it wasn't so wrong to bring that up. Right on. Again, you could absolutely run Pillage. This is an upgrade to the build's overshield economy, which I just personally don't need the way that I'm playing it. I'm going to be using the Rack to Dark Dagger to generate ungodly amounts of overshield with heavy attacks, which we will demonstrate. I guess I don't know, like we were talking about, oh my goodness, we just had a really good idea. Now I forget what it was. Crazy, you mentioned something that I got really excited about that I now can't find. Energized munitions, yes. Okay, so here's the energized munitions pitch. Harrow already has a fire rate and reload speed buff from Penance. So this might seem a bit extra at first. But what is a weapon that would want energized munitions and still a fire rate and reload speed buff? Oh, the comb could totally make use of that. And you know what's good about doing it with the comb? Well, I mean, it's not in polite conversation, but doing it with the comb. Anyway, is that the comb also has, the Kuva comb has a little bit better, significantly better crit damage that Covenant helps you activate. I like the idea of this. I think it's a unique experience of the comb. It's an interesting way to do the thing. I'll at least try it, since I didn't think of anything else that I want to do more. We were interested in an ability that you might want to augment, because the build I have set up does have augment space. So that's something to think about too. At the moment, I don't know. Pixel, I think that Yajigami's correct that you can't use the pillage augment, but I might be wrong about that. I thought that was how that worked, but I could be wrong. So here it is. This is just what I had on the comb normally. I suppose you should take off critical deceleration in this case. Because Harrow's just going to buff the crit to high heaven. But I'll leave it on for now. Energized munitions also works on weapons that take a lot of ammo on a single shot. Ambassador and Quellor could be fun. Interesting. Those weapons that have an alt fire that costs a lot of ammo to shoot once. That's interesting. I actually didn't know that that worked with energized munitions. That's cool. Potentially useful. I'm not sure I'm that high on that specifically here, but definitely something I'd be interested in general. Energized munitions plus caloric and such. Lots of ammo per shot. That's interesting. Cool. I wanted to get back for one more weapon choice to this thing that Asymptomatic mentioned about manual detonation-based weapons. Weapons that, you shoot a thing and then you hit the button afterward to detonate it. Are there any that are secondaries? Oh my goodness, it's the Castanas, isn't it? But I like the idea of these. I agree with you, Ace. I think it's comfortable to throw it over enemies' heads and then you detonate it and it hits all their heads with the explosion. That's comfy. I like that. Who doesn't want the Sancti Castanas to be useful too, right? Actually, probably plenty of you. Don't answer that. Ah, yes, the Sancti Castanas. Harrow might buff them enough. Dude, what's up with the stat block for the Sancti Castanas? Where's the, crit and status chance? They... There's no... What? Why? Why? But why? Okay, so let me just yeah, just gonna yeah. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I don't know what this weapon's stats are, so let's look them up. Sancti Castanets, baby. Oh my goodness, I no crit popped up. No crit, no status, that Riven disposition though. It's not that it has 0% crit, it doesn't even have a critical chance. That's right. Okay, the crit chance is 24%, the crit multiplier is 2x. The status chance is really good, which is what I remember. What I remember is that this weapon is just awkward. There's nothing like the damage is theoretically fine. Oh, let's try it. I feel bad for it after we all laughed at it. That was mean. I feel bad. We hurt its feelings. Let's play with it for a little bit. Come on. It's not. This can't be. This is gonna be some kind of garbage. I'm like it. Yeah. Yes is the answer to that question. Whoa. Okay. Yeah. The base damage is going up. It's going places. Joey, you said, have we checked to make sure that ammo efficiency doesn't affect thrown weapons like the Scourge? Interesting. Joey, you're trying to suggest that when you throw them, there would be some shenanigans? Is that what you're trying to say? I have not tried that. We well could, yes. Let me write that in the notes. Ammo efficient. I bet somebody else in chat has tried that, but I would be down. Also, does it affect like the ammo consumed by the Javlock when you throw it? That's kind of interesting. Anyway, let's build this to have it's innate electricity, right? Yes. Probably I'm gonna go corrosive then because corrosive, but and maybe a little bit of cold. I'll just build some flat, just a bunch of damage really. And then we'll add prime fulmination. Sure. What a weapon. Oh. I forgot we have like, whoa. I didn't know this existed. Hey, look, throwing knives. These are elegant. I mean, you gotta have the, yeah, but anyway. All right, yeah. Focus, I don't know. We'll worry about it later. I'll go check the thrown weapon thing. That's interesting. I don't know about like throwing the weapon over and over again, but I'm quite interested in the Javlock interaction. You all know I'm a bit of a connoisseur of the Javlock myself. You know. If it's anything like the Ozma's turret disc, it super works. My energized munitions Ozma stays out for like a minute. Does energized munitions work with the Ozma? I'm gonna blow my top over here just to keep it above board for a moment. All right, first of all, I just want to show you the output, the sheer frickin' damage of. Give me energized munitions though. Look at that efficiency. Welcome to the chop shop. Okay, well, I didn't get any survivability, but anyway. Oh, the Sancti Castanas. You gotta love that. All right, we're doing this. Hey. Do some... Okay. I gotta take off the companion. It's yucking us up. I gotta be quick. Cool. Nice. All right, let's see these Castanas. Okay, I forgot to do the thing, but it's fine. Hmm. All right, let me quickly test the thrown weapon thing. um, what I'm interested in is whether the Javlock will use the ammo efficiency and like not consume all the rounds when it explodes when you throw it. This is my thrown weapon, Javlock, which we'll talk about. It's been a while. And so now when you throw it, and then you go pick it up, it exploded the rounds in the magazine to do its damage. Oh, but we have a bunch of... What's happening? It just says totally... It has total nonsense levels of ammo every time I pick it up. Is it reloading while holstered, like, way too quickly? Is that what's happening? Hold on. Does this weapon have an 8 reload while holstered now? Is that a thing that they did? All right, hold on. We can still test it. So I throw it and then it... okay. Okay, it is reloading automatically. So now we'll use this and reload it. And then just throw it. And immediately... Okay. But it staggers me so that I'm not fast enough. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I was hoping that maybe it would explode less of the rounds in the magazine. But I forgot until we started throwing it that they just kind of gave these auto-reloading anyway, so... what about the Ferox? I think, Joey, this is what you were asking. Like, is there any weird interaction where you, like, use energized munitions and then you can, like... I don't know. I actually don't know what you were thinking with that, but I was very interested in that idea. It doesn't seem like that's a thing, but that's okay. The comb spiciness. I mean, just bear witness of this absolute... Oh, look at how long you can do this for. This is like a third of the way through the magazine. Okay, the buffs run out quickly, but we could just add more, you know. Oh, that's incredible. Oh, that's badass. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, so some apocalypse levels of damage from the comb here. I do want more duration though, because of munitions. Are we going full selfish? I think we might be. Full shellfish, as it were. Narrow-minded, pure selfish Harrow. Ain't nobody getting energy from Thurible. Yeah. Oh my goodness, we are. We're going for the full selfish duration, big bongo duration Harrow. Look at that. I always knew I was going to be big bungus. Yeah. That is a 12.7 second ammo duration. That's beautiful. Okay, because what I want to see... Harrow-minded. Oh my god, that's terrible. Okay, because what I wanted to see was... If we have, like, infinite duration... You know, like, irrelevantly high duration on this... And then I start shooting... Using energized munitions... Do I have the buff for long enough to run out the entire magazine? 5, 4... 3, 2, 1. No. You would actually use even more. Okay, we go more duration. We're going for mold efficiency. Excuse me, you might have been thinking of mold efficiency. While you have shields, you get ability duration up to 36%. Which would be really nice. This doesn't actually need to last the whole time, but that's just very satisfying to me. I was just testing Warding Thurible. I haven't actually confirmed that I'm enjoying this. Anyway, hold on one sec. Let me just catch back up on chat. We got really off the rails with weapons because I got excited about the energized munitions comb. And I actually don't have that much time left before I have to go, so we're gonna catch up on chat and then like play a bit. It's so bonkers how they called the duration mod efficiency. Yeah, I yes. In Digital Extremes, I just like it's the wording thing. That's what I always say. I love the Buildcraft stuff in this game so much most of the time. But the way the effects are worded sometimes, and also just like, yeah, like why why like I get that efficiency is like a flavor thing. Um but why, but efficiency is another stat alongside duration. I don't know. I don't think that's ideal. That's all. But this arcane is sick. Um, very good stuff. Yeah, and here I don't know. I mean, at this point, right? Like before I had energized munitions, I was feeling like, oh, we're fine with the duration. But now I'm bending over backwards to get a bunch of duration. Is that really worth it? I don't know. Anyway, you could decide for yourself. The Sancti Castanis thing, like, are we actually, let's get some enemies that are like an actual level and see if they die to that with the headshot damage buff. By the way, Ace, you said you like the manual detonation explosion weapons because they are good for your bad eyesight. Well, I have very, very good eyesight, and I always loved using manual detonation weapons with headshot damage. So for what it's worth, I don't think it's just that. We could swap out Augur Secrets, Augur Message for more duration. If you wanted to just go big bongo duration, you could. That doesn't actually change it by that much. Anyway, yeah, let's just play for a bit because I only have so long before we gotta go. I'll slap on our dear friend Taxon. Get the sure, classy Taxon. And we'll see what we got to work with. Okay, well, first let's just look at the damage. So I'll just jump into like some random big bongo steel path enemies. Joey, you said, today I learned that if you put a saxophone head on a flute, it sounds like a clarinet. Please help me Buildcraft other abominable instrument mashups. Oh my goodness. Okay, so you know how a lot of people do the music in the shower, even if they're not, how should I put this delicately? Musically inclined, let's say it that way. You know, a lot of people will do the singing in the shower. Okay, so my thing that I do, I don't do this on purpose or by choice. This is my curse. I cannot stop. It will never end. I will never be free. There is no rest for the wicked. My thing that I do is I'll make mashups of songs in the shower. Okay, so you want me to give you one? This is a freebie, chat. So if you're gonna steal this, get ready to steal. This is my $1,000,000 bill idea. Okay, you wanted to steal something? Here we go. Get ready. Okay, so it's the opening song for the first season of RWBY. Look that up. And then Fighting Gold, which is JoJo Season 5, that OP. If you combine those two together, straight banger. I swear. You go listen to those two songs. You might think like, all right, yeah, whatever, these songs. KDA's Pop Stars and Nickelback's Rock Stars. Ooh, okay, yeah. I happen to know both those songs. All right, that's a good one, sure. I will not steal that, even though I want to very much. I like this kind of thing. To me, I have a perverse fascination with how they're like very different songs. You know, that's like, just like why? You know, like why the JoJo Season 5 theme? And oh, it is literally called "This'll Be the Day." Okay, yes, that song. The you know the one if you've watched RWBY. It's probably stuck in your head forever. I don't know if I would normally say I was the biggest fan of that song, but I do think it has a synergy, musical synergy. Joey, as for actually setting up instruments, I don't know if I would be the one to call. I guess I am into kalimbas, which are basically that. Joey, we could talk about it. I don't know. It's a topic I'm interested in. I'm just not I'm not exactly a multi-instrumentalist, to put it politely. Um, I feel bad for the comb thing, but I'm really feeling like I would enjoy having I would really like having pillage. I think setting up the it's nice to have the option to get the Rack to Dark Dagger energy, but I'm really feeling not having pillage personally. I do think the Kuva comb thing is really cool. I feel like you could probably make it work really well without like the reload speed isn't really doing anything, for example. I guess I kind of want pillage. Here's the other thing I feel about Harrow as a way to kind of conclude, because I do have to go in just a few. The thing I feel is that Harrow is a frame that has a lot to maintain, right? There's some upkeep, some things to manage, some timers, if you will. And so I'm a little bit higher on an effect that like you just hit it and get a bunch of overshields. I know that might seem boring. Again, I personally my goal, I don't actually care if something is like a good recommendation that's good everywhere. What I care about is useful information. If something is obvious, then I don't want to talk about it, not because I'm a hipster and I want things that are unique. I actually don't care at all. It's just not useful, you know? But I believe that discussing something like pillage, or people brought up breach surge earlier, here is useful, even though those things are often recommended, because I think they are noteworthy here. They're a little bit better than they just normally are, which I think is actually helpful. Again, that's gonna differ from person to person, but that's personally how I feel. That's why I'm interested in those things. Sometimes I worry that it seems a little chaotic what I am and am not interested in, but that's why. I hope that makes sense. Okay, all the mashups are happening. I like really love these, so I'm not gonna. I just hope it doesn't play on my stream and we get a copyright strike or something. So I'm just gonna click them and hope. Okay, but it's not automatically playing, right? Okay, good. Yes. Not that it would be your fault. I'm just making sure. So yeah, I don't know. Like to conclude, I do feel the absence of pillage. I feel like you two things. The energized munitions penance combo for comb, like it is really nice to have the fire rate on the comb and energized munitions to extend the duration of the magazine. So it's firing at full spool with its higher damage. The comb has kind of that compounding spooling. That felt really good to me. That's cool. The reload speed doesn't actually do that much, and this isn't a huge fire rate buff. Like it's not that much fire rate. Upon reflection, I don't actually think Harrow is the most powerful place to do that. So I would rather do that elsewhere. I do think it's a good idea. Like it's great if you want that option. But the second thing is, again, like pillage, it just feels nice to not have to worry about maintaining the overshield part of the build. I do feel that's a quality of life gain. It might seem very underwhelming. Like, believe me, I'm not that excited about, like, I basically just, like, mildly upgraded Condemn, right? Some people might prefer Condemn. Personally, I don't. Like, I get that. But I like it. I've enjoyed how it feels. I also wanted to mention I was simply leveling up the Phalarx while leveling up my Harrow Prime. But I like this weapon on Harrow. The first reason is that this is a weapon that values the fire rate and the reload speed. This is an auto weapon, but the fire rate is pretty low. It's really good burst damage if you brrr all the rounds out really quick. And then the reload is piecemeal, but it's quite long. So you can reload one round pretty quickly, but the magazine is really big. And that trade-off benefits quite highly. It's one of the maybe few weapons that I want a lot of fire rate and a lot of reload speed. That felt really good when I was using it. You might have seen me playing it with it a little in the middle of the stream. I thought that felt really good. Like I thought that was cool. So I'm kind of interested in that. So for those reasons, I'm gonna go with pillage. I get why people wouldn't. Oh, but they have to be affected by Haven, right? Okay. We were confirming that this doesn't work on frames other than Hildren. You could replace Penance. I really don't think you should. I think this ability is amazing. It gives you lifesteal on everything. You get a big fire rate and reload speed increase. I think this is an incredibly powerful ability. A big damage increase for the right weapon, while also being a lifesteal buff, and it lasts a long time as long as you got a lot of overshields. You could replace it, absolutely, of course, but I think this is really good. Anyway, so that's why I'm choosing Pillage. I know that might be a bit boring. I wanted to really hammer home again the point that my purpose is not particularly to recommend things that I think are unique or not. I don't enjoy other Warframe creators' videos, to be absolutely blunt with you. So I don't know. I'm sure it is common to replace Pillage here, to replace Condemn with Pillage. Pillage is commonly recommended, I know that. But personally, I'm just more interested in what I think feels fun to me. You might just be sick of it. I totally get that. There's nothing wrong with being like, but Pillage on every frame, I'm gonna do something else. There's nothing wrong with that mindset. I just don't share it. Personally, I generally avoid these abilities unless I feel like I have nowhere to turn but like this, reasonable staple. I do think people oversell these generally useful abilities. In communities for build crafting in general, things that are broadly applicable are always overrated because things that are popular are, well, broad. That's what it is. Good popular recommendations are not about the recommendation being amazing. They're about it being widely applicable. And that's exactly what this is. Now, it is pretty amazing, don't get me wrong. Just to say that I feel like, there are better examples in other games. It's not like particularly necessary. I think people are a bit quick to look to Pillage for lack of thinking about, like, if you go through all the options, there are maybe some more interesting ones. But in this case, I don't know. I really like it. Frelarx also has some neat holstered reload shenanigans if you want to go down that route. Tell me more. That sounds interesting. That's a cool idea. But yeah, I don't know. I like the Felarx here. I don't know about the Kastanas. I'd want to play with these more. I didn't really get to test that much. I guess I'll run it back a little bit. We'll play some rando Steel Path mission before I go. Do you get reload with the quick melee out? Neofs, I'm not sure I'm understanding correctly, but if you're asking if reload while holstered works while your melee is out, the answer is yes. They did remove the idea of quick melee. There is no quick melee anymore. If you melee, you're in your melee. You instantaneously swap with no time between melee and normal weapon. There kind of like is no quick melee. There is no war in Ba Sing Se. Oh, look at that. Oh, that big Chongus reload. Oh, so good. Ooh, look at those. Oh, it's so badass. The Larks has an evolution with 50% magazine per second reload while holstered. Whoa, whoa. For those a little bit less familiar with magazine reload while holstered, sources of it stack additively. So if you have like the Exilus mod that gives you 20% reload while holstered, and you have that effect, they will add to 70% reload while holstered per second, which means that in like 1.3 seconds, you'll reload the entire magazine just by like quick meleeing or something. That's badass. That's cool. Yeah, that's a fun idea. One of the Philarx's evolutions adds 10% fire rate for each shell reloaded since your last reload string. Interesting. While this is reset by the initial reload delay, it's not reset through holstered reloading. Combining this with a max prime ammo stock and lock and load, you can at the very least reload 2.4 shots per second, have a magazine capacity of 13, and a whopping 130% fire rate if it's at its full effect. Whoa. Okay, so that's really cool. Yeah, I might have to get down with that. Um, that's really interesting. Thank you both for telling me about that. I'm personally really into the full arcs. I think it's a bit of a shame that this mode is really, I think the only thing here is like, but why isn't it just explosive? Like a lot of people have assumed it's explosive and then found like, oh no, that enemy is just getting bombarded with surely radioactive projectiles. But no, it's not exploding. I don't know, like, I think you could give this weapon a minor buff of making it explosive. That would actually wouldn't be a very minor buff. But, yeah. Now, because I think the primary fire is pretty good, but it does use a lot of ammo. If you've been using this weapon a lot, you might be familiar with the Philarx is a little ammo hungry sometimes. I do think that the secondary fire is valuable for like you at least keep shooting, you know? It doesn't take like bullets. It uses its energy instead. So that's something, but that's a pretty minor carrot. You know, a lot of people want it to feel like more powerful. My in-game squad is waiting for the Acolyte, by the way. Anyway, that's a cool idea. Thank you for telling me about those glorious options for making the Philarx this weapon I'm really enjoying. Whoa, into even more spicy Dala shell reloads. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, it's so good. That's so satisfying. It's always been one of my favorite things about Warframe, really, is like you make a build and it just glorifies this badass looking like weapon animation and sound design. And that's like most of what I'm here for, personally. For me, a lot of the payoff for a build in Warframe is just like, you just get to make a weapon look badass. Like, it's so satisfying. That's glorious. Do you mind explaining pillage on Harrow? I did talk about it a lot earlier, so I'm gonna speedrun it a little. I think that when you get right down to it with the things that that my build has on it, there just isn't that much stuff that's that great. There just aren't that many good options. And so pillage isn't a very big upgrade over condemn, but I think it is mostly an upgrade. It doesn't hold enemies still for headshots, but I think that that is a little bit overrated. I think depending on the weapon you use, you will still be getting a lot of headshots. Pillage really lets you get the overshields without like being in the line of fire of enemies too, which I think is very valuable. I feel like you can survive pretty easily with just the overshields as long as you don't need to be looking at enemies that are shooting you to get them. So personally, I think it's a small but meaningful quality of life upgrade. And I thought about a lot of helmet abilities, tried a few, and I just wasn't very excited about them. So I think pillage is a small but ultimately good quality of life buff. The other big thing I said, Synthrone, is that, you know, Harrow does have a lot of timers. There is a good amount of stuff to maintain. If you're using Lasting Covenant and you're maintaining Penance and you're working on maintaining Thurible, there's a lot. It's very nice quality of life to be able to literally just hit a button and you get a ton of overshields. Like that is, in my opinion, really good quality of life. So even though it's not that much better, in the ways it is better, I don't personally value it that much for the headshots. I don't value Condemn that much for the headshots. And I think that the ways that pillage is helpful are just very helpful on Harrow. I just think they're really good. You know, one, not drawback, but thing that's kind of too bad about pillage normally is that it restores so much overshield, and Harrow can actually hold it all. So I think that's nice. There's a lot of reasons, I think. But yeah, those were the big ones for me. Again, I did talk about more over the archive. If that'd be useful to you, these do go up as stream archives on my secondary YouTube channel. So if you'd like that, that will be here. And they do have timestamps. Now, I do my best with the timestamps to divide it up. They're not perfect. There's not incredibly complicated timestamps. One of you in chat has referred to them as bespoke timestamps, which I think is a sick burn. A very valid burn. They're not great. They're the best I can do while recording the show live. But it will still be up there in a few days. So if that would be useful to you too, I have that as well. But yeah, that's basically why. I'm gonna make a few minor tweaks before we go. The one of them is in the current form of the build, I really don't need the efficiency. It's duration, molt efficiency gives duration. I don't really need that. I would rather negate toxin status effects, just be immune to them, because I plan to survive mostly with overshields from pillage and adaptation. Do I still want Arcane Guardian? I think I need to play the build more to feel like I know for sure. Probably not, but I'm not sure. Do I value Warding Thurible? I don't know. I think I have to play with this more. I wasn't really focusing on Thurible while we've been playing so far. Yeah, I don't know. I have to say though, because the build isn't so energy hungry, I'm really coming around to something that Yatogami mentioned earlier. So we talked about how Blind Rage isn't as good with Thurible as it seems like it would be. Because Blind Rage, the efficiency makes Thurible's energy conversion rate worse. Efficiency affects the drain and the energy conversion rate. Strength does positively affect the energy conversion rate, but this undoes a lot of its benefit on Thurible. And of course, Covenant is capped, so this increasing the strength here doesn't give you more total crit chance if you take enough damage. But it is good for penance. Like, this is still good for penance, and that's kind of most of what I care about. Like, I definitely understand why you would use this, now that I've played some more Harrow this way. Guardian does or does not help shields. Well, of course it doesn't affect shields. Armor does not affect shields. I believe Arcane Guardian will trigger when you take shield damage, and my idea is that this build does have a lot of lifesteal, and you'll have adaptation set up, and so when you get to your health, you do have lifesteal. In theory, that could be a nice line of defense, but it might be a bit extra. Like, the build might just not be in enough danger for that to be warranted. I don't know. Again, I would really need to try it more. The truth is, these streams are really the bare minimum of us trying to play the loadout. I wouldn't want to make a decision about something like this without, like, I just want to play it more. But I think this is, in theory, sort of interesting. Like, you do have that lifesteal. That's kind of an argument against Arcane Resistance, too. Like, but couldn't you just shoot enemies and then you won't die to the toxin? Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I would rather just get some health too. I'm gonna think about that. In my notes, I'm gonna write, health. Do you need Guardian? Test survivability more. MOAR more. That's what I've got. And yeah, like, I really like the throw the detonatable explosive over the enemy's heads and then trigger it to get a bunch of headshots. That's really cool. I like that. But I'm not sure I'm going to actually use it that much. One final note, for other arcanes, the big question here is, but is there something else you want to use? And I think at the moment in Warframe, the answer is literally always yes. There's just so many options for good Warframe arcanes. However, something that I personally wouldn't recommend very highly would be, Crazy Stick, you brought them up, Barrier and Aegis. Barrier, because it only restores all of your normal shields. The thing about this is that as your shields or overshields are taking damage, this might trigger almost all of your shield pool as overshields, but it won't actually restore very many shields. This would, it can be good in the right place. Personally, I think this is not very valuable here. Aegis. Aegis is very, very good right now in general because shield gating is balanced in such a way that if you regenerate tiny amounts of shield really quickly, you're basically just unkillable. That's true on any frame with shields. I think this is unusually bad with Harrow because, again, it can't restore overshields, which most of the time you will have. So in short, these don't really do anything if you have a bunch of overshields. I do think that they're very broadly good when they're good, but I don't know if I recommend them here. There's a lot of arcanes here that yeah, like, what arcane do I want to use in that spot, though? I'm going to have to think about that. Yeah, so in my notes, I'm also going to write arcanes, and also, I guess, focus is kind of a question. But overall, we've done rather well. That was a good look at comparing some different options for Harrow. And Thibsis, right in the final moments, welcome aboard. Good to know ya. Unfortunately, I've got to go. I hope you folks enjoyed Harrow's Buildcraft stream day. I'm going to talk a little bit about scheduling stuff. If you liked this or you want to watch more streams from me, that's what I'm going to talk about. I don't want anyone to feel like they have to sit through that if they don't care. So I just giving you a heads up. Thanks for watching. That's the end of like the show proper. Big Slug, thanks for the follow. Welcome aboard. I'm going to talk for just a few minutes about schedule stuff. We have been going through every frame in the game, build crafting each of them in turn for the past couple months. We're going to keep doing that every time this week. So if you enjoyed this kind of thing, if you want that, we'll be doing that. I need to tell you what frame we're doing next. We're doing alphabetical order, and I'm skipping frames that haven't been primed. The prime is not better in any meaningful way. Even in those, I'm sure you have in mind an exception. I still don't think that's meaningfully better. I don't think any primes are better in a way where I'd make a decision differently because you've got the prime instead of the normal. Some of them it's relevant, like the prime has a benefit that is good, but I wouldn't choose anything differently. I wouldn't build them differently. No, the reason I'm only doing primes is because I don't want to have to like customize them out again, put form on them and stuff. So we just did Harrow, so no Gauss, no Grendel, no Gyre, because they're not primed, no Hildren, because she's not primed, which means the next one is Hydroid. Whoa, that fashion is something I made while the color perspective was off in the evening. What are these old boy fashions? All right, that's going to need some updating. If you want to see better Hydroid fashion than this, that we're doing that next week. So if you were free this time, like 2 hours ago, I will be doing Hydroid that time next week. Bring your helmet ability ideas, bring your friggin' weapon pairings and stuff, you know, things you think are cool with Hydroid. I don't really like this fashion, but I will make something better in time for the show. Anyway, so that's what we're doing next Thursday. We also stream Friday, Sunday, and Tuesday. This Friday, we're going to be streaming some Tiny Leaders. If you want to play Tiny Leaders this Friday, tomorrow, bring your deck. We'll play on with Cockatrice, if you've used Cockatrice before. If not, it's pretty straightforward to set up. And we'll play a little bit tomorrow. Looking forward to it. This Sunday, we're doing Genshin Impact. Kuki came out. We'll be talking about Kuki. She is pretty janky, so I'm looking forward to it. Her being kind of wonky and weird makes for interesting Buildcraft discussion, which is the only thing I actually care about. Unfortunately, I don't have an incredibly high opinion of her, but what are you going to do? Anyhow, I'll talk to y'all soon. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the build ideas. Very much enjoyed having y'all here. Talk to you soon.